namaskara. I will deviate a little bit from Dr. Ashwath. So I am not getting into technology, but ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಿಮ್ಮ ತಲೆ ಒಳಗೆ ಹುಳ ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ at the end of the day that you can decide on that what you want to do. So this is what we have promoted, we have told in last 25 years in Bengaluru, because you are more privileged, more forward. You are not like, you should not think like a farmer. That's what we always say. That is, so you are an urbanite. So you also start thinking like a farmer, then it will not work. So that way, some of these rights, they only these rights stop. So that way, of course, the technologies and other things that sir has already told, and there are so many things that we can discuss as we move on. So that, as I was telling you, wherever I go, that I just try to put this title, small garden spaces and big contribution to biodiversity. That way, say as urbanites, that we should start thinking. So that way, so some of these pictures, quickly. This is what Dr. 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗧, I was with him from 2005. Probably sir is also a student, and so he is the one of the particular, of course, he was very much fond of urban foodscapes. He was very much fond of urban foodscapes, particularly growing vegetables. I, as a farmer from a farming background and farming scientist, not necessarily that it should be food crop. It is something green that we should start growing in our small spaces. That's what I always think. One point that we just which is the back one? Okay, farming and gardening, that's what I was telling. Some point that we have to discuss somewhere, that whether we are farmers. How many of you are farmers except Dr. Ashwath? None of you are farmers. Urban farming and greening. Farming is something. Farming is what farmer does. That is the point Dr. 𝗥𝗷𝗲𝗏𝗧 always used to tell, Vice Chancellor here, and of course I trained under him for some time. So farming is what farmer does. That is the basic definition that we need to understand. So when we see that we are farmers, probably something comes in our mind is all these activities. That you have to have land, you have to start growing, you have to have animals, you have to have compost, vermicompost and other things. So many things, of course. So as a farmer, probably you start thinking, and you can always look at it. When you think of gardening, probably these small things. Say I have small 50 square feet balcony space, I have 100 square feet terrace garden, I have only 300 square feet spaces. I want to grow something. What I want to grow? Can I grow some vegetables? Or only maybe I don't have light. So I have terrace, but my neighbors have built towers there. So only during some time of the day that we get light. So those things, of course, like he has already discussed, something that when it comes to gardening, probably people start thinking only this much that I can grow. Something that, so all these things, probably you would have the pleasure of growing crops in the small spaces. All these things. Pratima is sitting there, some of these pictures from her gardens. Of course, many of her colleagues, her friends, many of our Rotarians, that they have start growing. So these points that I just want to bring home today. See, when it comes to farming, there are certain things that you need to look at it. When it comes to gardening, that you have to compare probably somewhere there. So purpose, sir was telling, when it is farming, if you are putting a word farming, then something livelihood. So it is his livelihood. So you cannot, probably if all of you are farmers, probably I would have talked in a different manner. As you are all gardeners, I am talking like this. So I know how to differentiate between a farmer and a gardener. So that is the issue. So it is, many of you are probably not earning your livelihood. Of course, gardening, mostly own use, your own use. Outreach, household, neighbors, occasional sales. Most of us, I have seen, at least I am in a group of about 30,000 organic terrace gardeners. Most of them are not selling; they are all sharing. So when you are sharing, then there is no question of sales of course, commercial interest. Scale, it's a small scale when it comes to garden. Of course, large scale, if you want to do it, if you want to make it as a livelihood, probably you can discuss always. Usually not for market oriented. We are not growing anything for market. If you are growing roses, if you are growing jasmines, if you are growing some vegetables, hydroponics and other things, okay, we will discuss on that. Labor, mostly self-managed. We always say gardening is owner's job. It is not that, no sir, my gardener has not come long time, there is lots of weeds in my garden, I am not in a position to manage it. So whenever you go there, if you can differentiate, it is a crop, it is a weed. So that moment only that you should be in a position to remove that. So it is mostly the family labor. And of course, limited commercial planning. In gardening, there should not be, there need not be too much of planning here. Of course, if you plan, you will get better. So that is what I got. So finally, if the activity stops tomorrow, does the person's livelihood get affected? So this point, if you start thinking, so you can differentiate between gardening and farming. So what I want to do, whether I want to do farming, I want to do gardening. So this point probably you can ponder around, and I am not getting into the technologies and other things. This point we always say, we are not farmers, we don't want to compete with farmers. Farmers don't need your sympathy at least, but you have to be empathetic towards their problems. So if you say that 2 tomato plants, 5 tomato plants, that I am not in a position to manage, so you think of farmers growing acres together. So at least for that purpose, think that, so farmers are in distress. So if you can understand the difficulties of the farmers, one purpose of gardening is served. So for that purpose, gardening is very important. Second point that I just want to only few minutes. This is our brand Bengaluru. I have not seen much of greenery in Bangalore because I am just 25 years old here. But otherwise, many of you are born and brought up here in Bangalore have seen the changes over a period of time. So as IASC and other things, this is a study of IASC over years. Of course, the latest one has come. In last 40, 45, 50 years, what had happened to Bangalore, to our greenery, to our water sources, and all those things. So this is the research from IASC, from 𝗕𝗲𝗏 and 𝗕𝗲𝗏 and others. They are continuously working on this. So this, of course, I need not explain. How can I be part of making this place greener again? So we have to be here, we have to be part of this place. So can we create certain occasions to make it more greener? So that is one purpose of gardening. We have to look at it, and if you are discussing and working on strategies to make it more greener, somewhere that we have to create occasions to make it greener. So there are many occasions that you get, your birthdays, your anniversaries, your maybe festivals. All the time that I will plant one thing. One sir was showing one curry leaf plant, many curry leaf plant of course. I just want to keep one curry leaf plant on my terrace. Only one. All of you can do it. So that is possible. It is not difficult at all. So if you decide today, tomorrow morning, that plant will come to your house. And of course, technology is not difficult, always available. The third point, whenever we say gardening, using potable water for gardening is a criminal offence. That's what we said last year, of course 2 years back. There was BBMP even fined 5,000 rupees for people having gardens and using water. And we are not at all bothered about water. We have plenty of water. Only thing is that you have to practice safe grey water practices. So these things that we are doing, and this water cannot be used for gardening purpose. And of course, this water we are always using all the suppose, all the leafy vegetables, leafy greens, many vegetables are washed and grown in this water. Because it is growing from our houses, the surface water is like this. So you cannot blame the farmers. It is going from your houses. So somewhere as maybe community people or maybe apartment dwellers, Just imagine that how much of water is going, and all the supermarkets will have these materials at the front. So they know that people are looking for all these kind of cleansers in the first place, or other things next. So that way somewhere, so what we can do, of course there are so many things may not be part of today's discussion. So all these things that on a daily basis, and we are getting this to our kitchens. Whatever you say that this is going to happen, and this is already happening. So those things that you can, of course, safe grey water practices, as sir was telling, many products are available today, botanical origin, microbial origin, safer products, not synthetic products. All these kind of products are available today. We can always start looking at least. So I know that I cannot tomorrow morning in 24 hours that I cannot change. Not possible. 5%, 2%, 10%. So these kind of changes are possible, that we can always look at it. When it comes to gardening, segregation at source is very, very important. Unless you segregate, you cannot convert the wet waste into compost. So segregation, so gardening is not just growing some plants. Along with that we need compost. We can convert lots and lots of wet compost, wet waste from, you should not be calling it as waste, so we can call it as black gold or something like that once it is converted into good quality compost. So it is always possible. Only thing is that your compost bin is not a dustbin. So something that it has to go in a proper manner. So that way, that segregation at source is very, very important. And otherwise, that just for your information, you know better than me, all of you, that what happens, all these materials that we are growing, at least single-use disposables. We are growing so much. So when you start gardening, don't think that growing something. Along with that, something others also that you can always do. Refuse disposable and reuse disposables. These things that continuously, that if you start doing as gardeners, so gardening is one side possible. Lots of compost can be produced at home and you can use it. There are technologies that we can learn, techniques that we can always learn. So all these things, people have to see, government has to make a rule to do all these things. Being urbanites, being educated, that which was our responsibility. So we did not do. The ones that the system or the courts have made rules, then we started doing it. So this is the situation that what we are facing. Of course, I am not getting into that. So that way, when it comes to urban gardening, it is not just growing some plants, converting the compost, converting the wet waste into compost, and using reusing water, rainwater, safe grey water, all these things that you should think of it. I differ a little bit from Dr. 𝗕𝗿𝗏 that food what we eat is not that safe. So it is not that the insecticides, pesticides, fungicides that what we are using is not dangerous or something. The way we are using it different. So we suggest as scientists that if I say that if you have to use 0.25 ml or 0.5 ml, 2 ml, so people won't follow like that. So they use lots and lots of. So today's document, today's the studies, papers suggest that we consume minimum 40 different type of synthetics on a daily basis. 40 different types of synthetics. It is not that tomorrow morning we will have some problem. So we are using it from last so many years, nothing happened. It cannot happen like that. So there is an opportunity. They are looking for an opportunity. Sometimes that it can express, sometimes it may not express. So that we have to think, why should it happen, something like this. These are not the pictures from somewhere. This is all from Karnataka only. And this did not happen in 24 hours, over a period of time. So 40, 50 years of usage of this kind of materials. This is the endosulfan poisoning what we say. Endosulfan is not bad. As an entomologist I am telling you, endosulfan is not bad. The way we use endosulfan is bad. So they were supposed to be spot application, but people started using helicopters and nowadays of course drone spraying. So it will not differentiate between a place where it has to be sprayed and where it is not to be sprayed. So that way, so somewhere, so you as urbanites, that you start thinking what we can do. So why should we have this in our house, in our neighbor's house, in our villages, in our hoblies, something. Why should I? Just think of the difficulties of the parents to bring them up. And this is not just because of only one pesticide or something like that. continuous usage of certain pesticides. These are documented truths. So, and of course, there may not be a direct evidence to show that this kind of autism and other things because of the food what we eat, but food what we eat, water we drink, and air that what we respire. So all these can be causes for certain of these kind of things, and on a daily basis that we are seeing the results. So that way I am stopping here. As urbanites, as humans, that we should always look at the whole of this universe, where we stand. Nowhere, as humans, you are nowhere. So if you cut that mammals into 5,500 pieces, we are a small dotted line. And if you just think that nothing is, it is not poisonous to me, nothing happens or something like that, that is not true, unless and until that you respect the strata, the organisms below you. So probably you cannot survive in that manner. So respect all other organisms probably in water, life in soil. So if you are not respecting life in water, life in soil, probably as urbanites, urban gardening, more privileged, educated, there is no meaning for all these things. So that way, so when we promoted gardening, we thought that we know that it is not easy. We were knowing that it is not easy. But start somewhere, enjoy this process. So there are so many advantages, particularly for children to a learning spot, for elderly a spending spot. So you can leisurely spend your time. So that way, so this gardening that we as garden city farmers, that we started promoting so many things. Dr. Vishwanath always used to tell, urbanites know how to do gardening. They do not know why to do gardening. So that way, how is so many videos that you have at the fingertips today, YouTube and so many videos you can learn. But why is very, very important as urbanites, that if you can differentiate between the word farming and gardening. So probably today's session can throw some light here, and probably we should get ourselves enriched. Thank you so much.